Are you tired of spending too much of your hard-earned money at the supermarket? Are you dreaming of farm fresh eggs, homegrown veggies, and homemade everything? Welcome to Ditch the Store, where we break free from supermarket dependence and take back control of our food and household essentials. I'm CJ, and I'm here to show you that life is too short for store-bought eggs. So let's get started. Well, Handy Helper, I was going to say welcome to Not the Farmer's Wife, but
that's changing.
It's not the Farmer's Wife anymore. So welcome to Ditch the Store. Sounds weird saying it out loud, probably because I've been so used to for the last 2.5 years saying Not the Farmer's Wife. But we are changing the name of the podcast, and this is episode 1 of Ditch the Store. And we wanted to go through this week with a Handy Helper here because, the last couple of weeks he hasn't been here because he's been working really crazy hours. We wanted to go through and talk to you about the change and why we're changing and what to expect from the new podcast series. And when I say new podcast series, it's the same podcast series. We're going to be doing a lot of the same stuff.
Yep, just a different name.
Yeah, a name that we think is probably more reflective of where we're at and where we're travelling to. So, I've got a little list here to go through to make sure I don't forget anything because lately I feel like I'm always forgetting things. But in essence, what we wanted to do was make the podcast more reflective about the direction that we've been heading here with Mojo Homestead. And back in the beginning, it was more just me, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. And so, the whole Not the Farmer's Wife idea, OJ, my son, actually came up with the name.
He came up with that name,
Yeah. He said, we're having a chat, and I said, I don't know what to call my new podcast that I'm doing, And he said, what's it about? And I said, it's about me talking to other ladies, and predominantly it was going to be women that I was aiming it at, other women about farming. And he said, oh, well, why is that special? And I said, well, normally men are farmers, not always women. And he just piped straight up and went, not the farmer's wife, because you're not the farmer's wife, you're the farmer. Which was awesome and very clever of him and very catchy. And we are keeping the name. The name is definitely still staying for my store, my online store. If you don't know, I have a made-to-order online clothing store, and that is still called Not the Farmer's Wife because that is aimed at women predominantly, and it's clothing and car accessories and
there's
towels
some pretty cool
and
stuff
blankets.
in there, but there is.
And there's stuff for hubbies as well. It's not all ladies' things. But the whole point of having Not the Farmer's Wife was that we were really, and I was really targeting women who were interested in farming and homesteading in the beginning. And that was, 2 years ago that I started kind of the whole process. In the last 6 months, the focus has changed a lot, probably nearly the last 8 months, I'd say.
Yeah.
Where the Handy Helper has come on board with a lot more of the farming stuff and a lot more of the homesteading stuff. And it kind of always felt weird saying Not the Farmer's Wife and having my little intro that says I'm not the farmer's wife, I'm the farmer, when it wasn't just me, it was him as well. Yeah. And not that you didn't mind, did you?
I didn't mind, didn't bother me.
Yeah. It wasn't a big deal for you.
I used to dig at you every now and then if I'd been out in the field all day and you'd been sitting inside.
Yeah, working on
the
computer.
Farmer's Wife,
But it did feel a little odd.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. It felt like I'd left him out of a big chunk of it when he was such a big part of it. So we kind of, over the last couple of months, we've been doing a bit of a chat about which direction we're going with it. And as you would know, I've written my first book, which is Ditch the Store, From Brooder to Plate, the step-by-step guide to raising chickens for meat. And the second book, which is the step-by-step guide to raising chickens for eggs, is just about finished. I have had a few extra things on my plate in the last month with a few changes in employment status. That has, you would think it would given me more time to write books, but it hasn't.
No.
I'm getting there. But the idea is to change up the podcast in line with where the business Mojo Homestead is going, where our farm is going, where our homestead's going. And we wanted to try and connect better with the audience that has been listening to us. And we have got quite a few followers now. It doesn't sound like a lot to people who are famous, I guess, but I'm getting 35 regular downloads just on Spotify each week, which that doesn't seem like a lot.
Doesn't seem like a lot, but it is. It is fast.
35 people every week that we're communicating with. And I love it. And that's not Apple. Apple, I can't see the exact figures without a whole bunch of weird logons and things like that.
Surprised me, Apple.
Yeah, Apple playing silly buggers. But certainly we're up there. As far as I can tell, it's probably getting up around the 80 episodes a week being downloaded, which is huge, huge to me. Because when I first started, I didn't think anybody would listen. I didn't think anybody would log on. I didn't think anybody would download. I certainly had no hopes of anybody communicating with me. And I've had people reach out to me and message me from listening to the podcast.
I remember when we had our first 1,000.
The first 1,000 downloads. Yeah. And I was like, and now I'm at, I don't know, it's close to 3,000, I think.
About 3,000 now, yeah.
But so it's taken off and that's great. But when I sit down and look at the analytics, and I've tried to do it, from a business perspective, I've tried to go and have a look. There's a lot of fellas out there listening. Now, maybe you just like hearing a really shitty Aussie accent. I don't know. If it is, good on you, mate. G'day. Get one up here, all that kind of shit. If that's the case, but I don't think it is the case. I think that what we're talking about is resonating with the fellas as well.
Yep.
Yeah? I mean, it resonates with you, doesn't
it? Yeah. You resonate in my ear all the time.
You're a man of few words today. Not saying much. So what we wanted to do was veer towards the direction that we're also going, which is not anti-supermarket. We're not anti-supermarket. I think I have about Buckley's chance of ever getting the kids and the handy helper to use reusable toilet paper.
You're funny.
It's a thing. Don't freak out, people. It's a thing. And for guys that don't want to hear about menstrual products, turn your ears off now. For those of us ladies who don't want to be putting, a million pads or tampons into either the toiletry system or the bin system, I've been using reusable menstrual products for years, and I know lots of people that have been also. Not only does it work out cheaper long run, but you're not polluting. You're not putting all this shit into the bin and down the toilet, and we've got a septic. So for us, it's doubly important that we don't put things into the toilet system that can't decompose and compost.
Yeah, that too.
Yes, that too.
Yeah.
So, but I really don't think I'm ever going to get to a point where I'm going to convince two teenagers and the handy helper to use reusable toilet paper. And I think that would be the last frontier in leaving a supermarket. I really think if you can break up with your supermarket toilet paper habit, you're probably that's the hardcore. Oh, you good thing. I'm impressed because I don't think I'll ever get them to do that. So it's not about being anti-supermarket. Okay, I want to say that from the get-go. There is a time and a place for supermarkets. We travel quite a bit, as in we don't live where our kids go to school and play sport, things like that. So we're in the car a lot, and it would be silly to assume that we never go into a supermarket and buy anything, particularly food-wise. We do go into supermarkets and buy things because sometimes it's just more convenient to buy something that's already wrapped in a bag that we can eat in the car or on the sideline of a sports oval. So we absolutely still use supermarkets. But for us, there's a couple of things. One is that we're very pro-self-sufficiency. We feel that you shouldn't have to rely on supermarkets and other people. We're very, both of us, I would say, are very self-sufficient in ourselves as well. I can remember you telling me that you moved house once without asking a single person to come and help you because the idea of asking somebody to help was more than you could stomach. Yeah. So we are very self-sufficient kind of people. And, the handy helper, sometimes we see those, and I always want to say memes, but my kids tell me it's memes.
I wouldn't have a clue.
Yeah. But there's, the videos on YouTube, on
Facebook,
TikTok.
TikTok.
And you see people and they'll see their wife going to, walking with a hammer and a ladder to go and do something, and they jump up and chase after them. Usually the handy helper misses that when I do that because I just wait till he's not there and then go do it, because otherwise he'll come and try and help me. And I don't like the idea of being helped. I like to be able to do it myself. What did you buy me? I think it was my 50th birthday.
I brought you a toolbox.
You bought me it, and it's purple. It's a purple toolbox. It's actually really cool. I should go get it and
And all the tools in it are bright pink.
Yeah,
so
purple, so that I know.
So that CJ knows when I've stole one.
I know when somebody's stolen my tools, okay? Yeah, we're very self-sufficient.
Where are my tools?
Have you seen your shed?
Out in the paddock.
No, where you left them.
Trailers.
Where you left them,
because
you never put anything away after yourself.
Yeah, but I might need it, so I'll leave it there.
Yeah. I picked up a wrench from out in the paddock 2 days ago.
A pair of pliers.
And he said, leave it there. I get it on my way back into the paddock.
Yeah.
It's sitting out in the weather. Anyway.
I'll leave them out in the paddock. That way I know where they are.
One of the other things we are is very pro small business. And I think people get really confused with small businesses. They don't quite get just how it works. So I have an Amazon shop.
You're rich.
No. Yeah, I'm so rich.
If you own a small business, you're rich.
So rich. I've got 3 businesses going and a full-time job and still trying to make ends meet. It's definitely not living self-sufficient is not the lifestyle for saving money in the initial phase.
Mm.
But I'm very pro small business, and I am that for a reason, because a lot of people I don't think get just how many small businesses are out there and how many small businesses, when you spend money, and there's a little thing I'll try and put up for the YouTubers, when you spend money with a small business, you're not paying for, big corporations. You are paying for mum and dad to send a kid to ballet lessons or footy games or, pay for schooling or music lessons. That's what you're doing when you support a small business, because it's putting the money back into the community to recycle those funds back around. So, and that's another reason why I'm also tend to lean towards pro cash, because I would rather pay somebody $50 and not have any money go to the bank in bank fees.
Yeah.
I love the banks, and I have shares with Commonwealth Bank because, hey, I'm not stupid. They make money. But do I want to support them every single step of the way? No, probably not.
No, really.
But small businesses are everywhere. And we've had it said a couple of times when I've said to people, I sell on Amazon, and they're like, oh, you support Jeff Bezos. And it's like, you do understand
how Amazon works?
Amazon don't actually, well, they do now sell things, but in the beginning, they didn't sell products. Everybody that has a product listed on Amazon is a small business trying to sell products. Mm. It's just a marketplace for us to show our wares. It's like paying for a stall at the farmers markets. But this is a worldwide farmers markets where somebody in the UK can look on an Australian Amazon page or on the Amazon page. And if I ship to the UK, if I elect to ship to the UK, they can purchase one of my products and have it shipped to the UK. And I would never reach that customer normally. Under normal circumstances at the farmers markets, they're never going to see my product. So all those small businesses that make up Amazon, and Amazon do sell some products now themselves. So there are some products that you would be in direct competition with Amazon. But for the most part, the products that you see on places like Amazon are small businesses trying to make ends meet. Mm. So don't think that you're just supporting Jeff Bezos. Yeah, he gets a cut of it. I forget what the percentage is. It depends on what products you're selling, but I think I'm like 3% or something with the products I sell.
It's not huge.
It's not his percentage.
It's just the fact that there is so many people use him.
And the thing is, it was a good idea. And I hate to say it, but why shouldn't he earn some money for having a good idea? He came up with an idea.
He's got to pay rent. He's got to do stuff as well. His warehouse is absolutely enormous in Sydney.
They are. And he's got a lot of staff that work for him. So having to pay him for his good idea, I don't have a problem with, if it means that I'm getting my products out there to more people. Mm. So small businesses are everywhere, and you need to look and find them. But the big one, why we are trying to ditch the store, and you love it because it's your favourite thing in the world, because you always say, you're the biggest tight ass.
Such a tight ass.
Yeah. What's with that?
You don't spend any money.
Me or you?
Oh, me more. Me more. I hate spending money. I hate spending money on anything. If I will sit, if I need something and I'm on eBay, Amazon, I'll sit there for an hour and I'll go through everything until I don't care if it's like $1 less, I'll get it.
You've probably wasted like $20 worth of your time searching for $1 less.
Don't care.
It's like going, somebody
didn't cost me to sit there for 20 minutes of my time.
Well, I guess if you were just sitting there anyway. But somebody said to me one day, because I go to Costco to get my fuel, and in Canberra, for anybody that's in Australia, for those overseas, Australian fuel prices are ridiculous.
It's phenomenal.
It's like, so we get it in the litre, not the gallon, for my US friends, but per litre, $2.03.
Yeah, it's been up higher than that.
$2.30.
A litre, not a gallon.
Not a gallon, a litre. And
do your sums on that one.
Yeah, it adds up, man. When you're putting over $100 worth of juice in a car, it adds up when you do a lot of Ks. So I go to Costco because with a Costco membership, you get cheap fuel. Now, I have had people say to me, oh, the fuel's crap.
No, it's not.
We've been running 2 cars on their fuel and the generator when we need to use it, and your mowers.
Yep.
And we have not had a problem with the fuel.
Never had a hiccup with the fuel at all.
And currently, I think last time you filled up, it was $1.71 or 76.
A diesel?
No, for me. You filled up my car the other day, remember?
71.
$1.71 for unleaded fuel per litre versus some places around us are
$1.99, $2.
$2, $2.20. It goes up to, I think, the Burglar Joe that we know.
Yeah.
It's $2.20 a litre for unleaded fuel, which is just insane.
Nearly 50 cents more a litre.
And somebody said to me, but you drive like half an hour out of your way to get fuel from Costco.
And not really. I drive past it every day.
You do. I don't. I have to drive out of my way to get to it. But usually what I do is if I'm driving out of my way to get to it, I make sure that I've got something else that I need to be doing in the area at the time. So it's not a complete waste to have to drive a couple of Ks extra. And if I'm saving $20 on filling up my car, really.
It's one thing that does amaze me with going off track here. It's one thing that does amaze me with people saying, oh, you drive all that way just to get fuel. People underestimate the size of Canberra, I think. It's in Sydney, if I jumped in my car in Sydney and drove for half an hour, I'd be lucky to be 2 suburbs away.
Yeah.
In Canberra, if I jumped in my car and drove for half an hour, I can go from one side of Canberra to the other.
Yeah. Canberra might be the capital. It might be the capital city of Australia, but it's a big country town.
It's a big country town. It is.
Not that big.
It takes you half an hour to get from one side to the other.
And I'll swing past Costco on my way to go and pick up the kids or go to the gym or things like that. So that kind of thing. So that's what this podcast is now gearing towards, is not pro-supermarket, but not anti-supermarket, sorry, but pro-self-sufficiency, pro-small businesses, pro-frugality, because we're both tight when it comes to money. And it's not about being cheap. We will spend the money where it's warranted. I mean, I've just purchased 2 airfares today with Qantas.
2 airfares for yourself.
For myself only with Qantas, because I'm going to do an artificial insemination course so that I can artificially inseminate our own goats. And I don't look at the cheapest, I look at the most efficient and what's going to get me there on time and what's going to be the airline that I know won't lose my bags, things like that. Yeah. So it's not like I don't want to spend the money. I'll spend the money where it's warranted, but I'm not going to spend the money unnecessarily.
In the long run, going to do this course is going to pay off because, as some people may know who listen to the other podcast, we lost our buck.
Yeah.
He got really sick and he passed, which is still a real sore point.
Yeah, so it is. And I've made the decision not to get another buck.
We're not going to get another buck.
In order to keep our breeding cycle and patterns a bit different, I'm going to do artificial insemination with our does. And that way I can bring in the particular stock I want instead of having just the one buck.
The way I look at it, but the amount of money that we would spend on a new buck, you're only spending half of it on airfares and stuff because it's for something really good breeder.
So like we said, for it's not about being cheap or tight. It's about being frugal and working out what is going to be the best cost benefit for us.
Yep.
And we will spend the money on that.
Yep.
The things that aren't cost benefit plus for us, then we won't spend the money on them.
Common sense.
Yeah, it is common sense.
Yeah. Common sense thing.
Common sense.
Yeah, I've got pro common sense. That's why I'm just saying it because I thought of that.
So what we're trying to do is help other families, and it is other families. It's not just ladies. It's the fellas as well. In fact, the handy helper might even do a couple of podcasts himself. That'd be cool.
Oh, that's stretching it.
But it's about helping all families, not just ladies out there, to learn to ditch the store and learn to break away from that reliance on the supermarket and move forward with their own self-sufficiency. And how are we going to do that? We've already talked about frugality. But the other thing is the cost of living crisis. I don't think if you're in Australia, we can't go anywhere without mentioning that. It's unfortunately, and I'm not going to get political because there's just no point. Everybody has their own political views. I'm probably anti-political in most cases. I'd probably fall into the line of libertarian, where I think the government just has way too much input into our lives. However, they're a necessary evil. So I can't pick between the two major parties for our country any more than anybody else's country. But I know that at the moment in Australia, my pay, my normal paid employment, did not go up the same amount that the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, went up over the last 3 years. And as a result, I am now, my dollars go less distance now than they did 3 years ago.
Yep.
We have had a slight rate increase drop, which means our mortgages, we're actually now paying above and beyond what we should be paying in our mortgage, because when that kind of drop happens, we don't reduce our payments to the minimum. We keep it at whatever we've been able to afford so that we are paying that mortgage off quicker. But we're in a very lucky situation. We don't have the same kind of mortgage that other people have because of lifestyle choices that we chose to make several years ago. We downsized quite significantly as far as the house we live in. So we're not living in a $1 million house. We're living on a $1 million property, but the house we're living in is definitely not a $1 million house. It's a tiny house. So for us, the cost of living comes down to things like fuel, medical expenses. Those are things that we can't avoid. Luckily, we've all been relatively healthy.
Yeah, that's me tapping on wood.
But if we want to purchase anything like tools or new animals, new livestock, or pay for travel away to go on holidays or anything like that, that's when the cost of living kicks in for us. Yeah. But the big one is the supermarkets. And I don't think anybody in Australia can hand on heart say that their shopping bill has not increased in the last couple of years to the point where you sometimes you pay for your groceries and it's $130 or $200 or whatever, and you look at the trolley and you think, how the fuck is that $200 worth of groceries?
$200 doesn't put much in the trolley anymore.
And, we've the last couple of months, we've been mostly living a carnival kind of lifestyle. So we're buying meat, but we go to the butchers to buy meat. So that's helped us as far as not having to go to the supermarket.
We don't go to the supermarket to buy meat. We go to the butcher and buy meat.
Yes. Because then
that's a small business.
It's a small business, and you're getting better quality meat anyway.
Yeah.
But even still, we spend $200 on meat and go, shit, is that it? Like, wow, glad we're buying brisket, mince, and sausages. So the cost of living is a big issue for people, and I think it's really important that while we don't want to encourage people to be tight, we do want you to encourage people to be frugal. And if you don't need to purchase things at the supermarket, you really do need to have a rehash of what's important to your family. And good quality milk for us is important. We've just finished up our milking season here with the goats, and we went to the shops the other day and I had to buy cow's milk for the first time in
That's funny when you stand in front of the fridge with all the cow's milk in there and you stand there for 10 minutes just looking at it all going, what's the best?
Yeah, and it's hard, but
it's 20 different brands of milk.
But the brand that we have had in the past that we have liked and nobody's had stomach issues with, and it is a pasteurized milk because cow's milk, it's illegal to sell raw cow's milk in Australia. We've got a cow that's due on Anzac Day next month, and she's half Frisian, half Angus, and I'm very tempted to have a crack at milking her.
She's nuts.
She's nuts. It's going to be hard work. She doesn't have horns though, so she's
that's one good side. She's got no horns
because Millie, our Frisian, has horns. But she is much calmer and quieter.
Oh, she's a dribbler. She's an idiot.
She's my favourite. She gives me kisses. Literally, she gave me a kiss.
Yeah, no, it was disgusting.
In the mouth with her tongue.
CJ didn't realise how long a cow's tongue was until she got too close.
I stood too close. It was my own fault.
I've never laughed so hard in my life. I nearly fell on the ground.
I've never researched Q fever so quickly in my life and whether or not I need to be vaccinated. So we have milk that we prefer to buy if we have to buy pasteurised, and that's Tilba milk. Now there's also little cow, big dairy. No, big dairy, little cow.
Dairy, little cow, something like that.
Which is also another one, local producer, so small business. and their milk is phenomenal.
Yeah,
If you have
milk's
to
really
buy
good.
pasteurized milk, they're the ones to go to. But I bought the Tilba milk. We got home. The kids straight away, OJ, who loves his milk, has gone to the fridge and he's got, oh, we're back on milk. And I said, yeah, the goats have dried up for the season. Oh, we got the good stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And then
Stop drinking it by the
and then
litre.
I had to
Yeah.
explain to him that he's now not drinking it by the litre because it costs us a lot more than what the goat's milk does. But supporting your local and small businesses is the next thing that you really need to focus on. And so if you can, spend the money where it's warranted, where the good nutritional food is that you want to buy. But if you can do it from a small or a local business instead of from the big chain supermarkets, oh my God. Like I said before, you are literally paying for somebody's ballet lessons, soccer fees,
Yeah.
School lessons, tutoring, giving them, a holiday with their family down the coast. You are literally doing that for a small family when you buy from a small business. So, and you're keeping the money in the community.
Yep.
I get a bit geeky about finance and accountancy kind of stuff, don't I, sometimes? And I get off on a bit of a rant, and the handy helper sometimes will look at me and just roll his eyes. But money, cash money in the economy, so cash money being put back into the economy, actually generates spending in the economy. And it sounds weird when you say it like that, but it is so true. The more cash people have, the more likely they are to spend the cash within their local community. Big supermarkets don't. They take your cash, they bank it. But the small businesses are more inclined to use that cash to purchase other things because that cuts out bank fees for them. So if you can keep the cash flowing in your economy, in your community, it's going to be better for your community. It's going to be better across the board. Instead of paying for some CEO in Melbourne or Sydney to, put an extension on their $2 million waterfront, it'd be $5 million waterfront in Sydney.
And then some.
A house, you instead could be paying for the guy down the road from you to buy a new car from the dealership down the road from you that's also a small business who employs the young bloke that went to school with your kids and has now got an apprenticeship there working as a mechanic. So it's a win all round for everybody within the community when you continually spend that money in the community. And the last one is, I know we're not wearing our glasses today because our lighting is really
I'll show you.
crappy. No, I can see it. Our lighting's really crappy in here today. We're in the process of getting some more lights and cameras sorted out.
I read that summer too.
I know. And so we took our glasses off because we just could not get the glare off it, and it just looks too annoying.
I am Superman. No. No.
Waste and simplicity. We are massive fans of not wasting things. And I think for any Gen Xers that grew up, and we're both Gen Xers obviously, anybody that grew up with a boomer parent, can't believe we say it like that, but anybody that grew up with a boomer parent, you would have heard the phrases of, there's kids starving in Africa, eat all the food on your plate. We don't waste food in this household.
Nope.
You squeeze the last of that out of that container because we don't throw a container out until we've used every last drop. Did you used to hear that as a kid?
Yep.
Yeah. Our parents, and I think because...
Cut the toothpaste tube open to scrape the inside out. Tight ass.
Our parents, and, we don't necessarily want to be seen as that tight, but our parents, Gen X's parents, were raised by people that survived through the Second World War. So when you look at it that way, they went without a lot. They really struggled. I mean, I can remember my nan, who ended up dying of emphysema, but was a heavy smoker all of her life. And she said, I used to smoke because it would subdue my appetite to eat food, and then I didn't have to eat as much. During the war, she couldn't get tobacco, so she would roll tomato leaves that she dried and smoke them.
It sounds familiar. I can't bring it up.
That's a whole other different kind of smoking. But she did that because she was trying to save money. Like, she couldn't afford tobacco because it was food for kids or tobacco, but she still had this horrible addiction to smoking. So she would do that in order to still smoke. And I can remember her telling me that, and I'm sitting there thinking, I wonder whether that's why you have emphysema, because you smoke tomato leaves. Probably not. It was probably the tobacco because they're full of chemicals. But our parents grew up with a generation of parents who just were as tight, and they had to be to survive. So it's not a slur against them. They did what they needed to do to feed their families, clothe their families. I can remember my dad telling me about having shoes that had holes in them for school. And his mum used to get him to go and pinch newspapers from the corner shop. They'd put the old newspapers that didn't sell out the back, but they would send them back to the newspaper place because I think they used to recycle the paper. And he used to go and pinch a couple of sheets of newspaper, and she would line his shoes with the newspaper so that he could go to school without his toes sticking out, which sounds horrific, but it's what they had to do to survive. Now, I'm not suggesting we do that. Mending your clothes is one thing. Lining your shoes with newspapers, probably something else. I think in this day and age, we can probably afford to pay for at least, if you have a really good quality pair of boots, take them down to the local shoesmith and ask them to reline the soles.
The cobbler.
The cobbler, yeah. Like, we tend to throw things out because we get these, cheap generic clothings and shoes and things like that. But if you've got a really good pair of boots, I've got riding boots that I've had resoled because they were such comfortable horse riding boots that I was never going to give them up, and the soles were getting too thin, and I took them down and they resold them for me, and they were great. They lasted me
years. I wear my boots until they disintegrate. Yeah.
So waste and simplicity is something that we had it drummed into us by our parents because they had it drummed into them by their parents. So we do tend to veer towards that not being not wasteful. I try not to. One thing I won't do, and you've seen me do it, I will not tell my kids to eat every last bit of food on their plate. I have this real issue that it kind of leads to a bit of a weird mindset with eating, that you have to finish everything on your plate. If they're genuinely full, I don't make them finish the last bit on the plate. What I do is I take the food that's left off the plate and put it in a container in the fridge for me or the handy helper to eat for lunch the next day. But we don't force them to eat every last bit of food on their plate, because I had that done to me as a kid and I used to hate it. Sometimes I would genuinely be full and going, I can't eat anymore. And my mum would be like, no, we eat everything on our plate. There's kids starving in Africa. So what can they expect from the next? It'll probably be about 2 years. In my mind, I've got this 2-year plan for Ditch the Store. What can they expect from Ditch the Store? Apart from maybe occasionally the handy helper.
You weirdo.
Doing our occasional podcast.
Yeah,
so I can have a break.
Possibly. What do we got?
It's going to be the same.
Yeah.
We are going to be talking about the same things. We're going to be talking about chooks.
Yeah.
Because chooks are the gateway drug to homesteading. We are going to be talking about milking goats.
Yep.
We're going to be talking about keeping your own bees. Our bees have copped a flogging this year, but my beekeeper friends are advising me we're not
the only ones. We still have 2 hives left.
We had a lot of moisture problems. There's that word, moist.
Moist.
We had a lot of moisture problems, so a lot of rotting with timber hives. So I may look at getting some of the newer plastic hives.
We do up the back of the property. We do have plastic hives at the moment.
Yeah,
and they're doing all right. We had 3 up there. One of them's still going. The other ones are gone.
But we've also had issues here in Australia with varroa mite, so there's been a lot of issues there. But yeah, so we will be talking about chickens. We'll be talking about goats. We'll be talking about bees. We'll also be talking about cows, as we have our lovely Millie and Molly. I don't think Millie is pregnant, but Molly is due to drop very soon.
She's definitely pregnant.
We'll also be talking about. The other things I want to talk about is things that you can replace in your house, not livestocky things. So for those that aren't at that point of livestock yet, we will be talking about things like cleaning products, making your own soaps, making your own bread, and I might even do like a kind of a cookbooky thing about, things that you can prep at home that you can actually prep at home healthier and better for you than...
Sounds like a new book.
Buying from there's going to be lots of new books. There's going to be lots of new books. Now, I do want to do some interviews too. So I'm hoping to find some small business people out there who are breaking away from the supermarket cycle. And I will try and get them on. I would love to. I've only done 1 interview in total.
Oh, no, and it was amazing.
I
wasn't involved in that, but I sat there and I sat in the background and listened, and it was amazing.
And we really vibed off each other.
The fact that
she's in Canada.
She was in Canada. Yeah, we hooked it all up and timed it right.
Lana Salant, you can go back and have a look. It's Ethical Omnivores Movement is what she does.
She was brilliant.
And she was great. So I want to do some more of those. And also some more practical kind of episodes where, especially for the YouTubers out there, where we have a few more videos in there that you can go and have a look at video series and see how we do things. we still will have the same kind of funny stuff that we do because we're funny. I think we're funny. I often say, if anybody out there listening, side note, I want Handy Helper and I to go on something like The Block. And because we're both reasonably handy with building kind of stuff, we could go on The Block. They would have to blip out the fucks every 5 seconds because we can't control our potty mouths.
Fucks. Dickheads.
Occasional
Wankers.
C-bombs. I won't say it, but C-bombs, you know what I mean? But,
See you in the Northern Territory.
That's right.
Yeah.
We should go on The Block because if we went on The Block, seriously, it would be so entertaining. People would be laughing their asses off the whole time because we give it to each other the whole time, even though we love each other and we, it's not a proper fight, Anyway, if you want to see us on The Block, let me know. In fact, I will put a poll on there on the podcast. If you want to see us go on The Block, go into the poll and mark it.
I'll put Scotty Cam in his place.
Yeah. And half those other dickheads. Anyway, so what have we got coming up? We've got the whole book series. So what I want to do is over the next probably 2 years, every 2 months, we're going to release a new book.
Yep. Hopefully.
And yeah, that's the goal. Handy Helper might have to do some more housework for me so I can keep writing. But we want to release a new book, and in the 2 months around that, we will discuss the topic of that book and then release the book. There'll be some new courses coming out. I do have my meat course almost finished recorded. It was getting recorded, and then we had a whole bunch of shit happen, and it's not getting recorded, but it's back in recording mode. But the kinds of books that we're looking at, we've got the egg book coming up. Then we're going to have books about dairy goats and possibly dairy cows, as well as beef cattle, because I know a lot of people like the idea. If you're on 5 acres, you can absolutely grow a steer on 5 acres.
Couple.
Yeah.
Easy.
And put it in the freezer and not have to go to the
That'll
butcher.
be a new adventure for us in the future because we're looking at that way.
And I want to speak to the guy. We've got a local butcher up at a place called Gunning, and he's currently teaching people how to disassemble their own large beasts instead of small beasts, because we're okay with the small ones. Cleaning without chemicals, so making your own cleaning products at home without having to constantly go back to the store for them. Backyard pharmacy stuff. We've talked about this. There's a lot of herbs and a lot of plants. Plants are full of toxins. There's no debate about that. But there's a lot of plants that the toxins in them can actually be quite useful for things that you need. So those toxins will kill certain things in your body that you might want them to kill. So I'm going to have a look at that more because I'm trying to help us out here at home. But making your own soap and skincare, which is something I've been doing for a while, and I want to get back into I've tried to make the tallow. I make soap, no problems, but tallow moisturizer, I want to have a go at making again. I tried it, it worked, it didn't, yeah. But also gardening for me has always been a little bit of a chore. I'm not the best gardener in the world. I'm educated thanks to my mum, but that doesn't make me good at it. I think being a good gardener is a skill.
That's our next big plan.
Yeah.
Is a massive big garden bed to do veggies and stuff in.
Yep.
We're separating one paddock at the moment.
We have a goat and chicken war happening where the goats keep jumping over the fence into the chicken yard to eat the chicken food, and it's not good for goats to eat chicken food. If you have goats, don't let them eat chicken food. It causes bloat. It causes all kinds of tummy upsets. Yeah. You don't want them doing it.
Buggers.
So we've had to electrify fences, and the goats found out the hard way about the electric fence.
Yeah. It was, if I could have videoed it,
it would have been
entertaining as shit. Fair income.
They go up and touch. They always touch with their nose.
Everything's with their nose. Yeah.
They've got to touch it with their nose, and so they touch with their nose, and which is the most sensitive part of them probably. And they touch with their nose and go, and they fart, shit, pee themselves,
and then bolt,
screaming at the other goats, "Don't touch the fence!" So that's where we're going over the next 12 months to 2 years.
Yep.
What I would say to you is a couple of things. Go to mojohomestead.net. We have got some freebies there, so don't forget that is there. Subscribe to the newsletter. When you join up for a freebie, you get an automatic subscription to the newsletter because more things will come out in the newsletter over the next couple of years. My newsletter up until now has always just been a bit of me having a bit of a rant of what's happened that week. It's going to change. I'm going to start sending freebies out with the newsletter, so get on the newsletter list. The other thing is, if you are on Amazon, if you're on Kindle Unlimited, you can still get it free. Go get it free. Or buy it if you want a copy. It's not a super thick book, but it does have, and I actually had a reviewer comment that some of the pictures in there were graphic and disturbing. I'm not sure what the reader thought they were going to get from step-by-step guide to raising
chickens for meat.
But they were a little bit sad that there was images in there that they kind of weren't expecting. But if you are interested in that kind of thing, go for it. It is literally a step-by-step guide. There are pictures in there showing you exactly how we disassemble. And the other thing is, if you're listening to this podcast, I cannot say it enough, please subscribe. Podcasts like mine that are little don't get out there. They don't get put in the algorithm unless people are subscribing to them. So if you're listening to it on a regular basis or you think you might like to, go find Ditch the Store, subscribe to it, leave a comment or a review. If you leave a review, Spotify and Apple bump it up the charts like you would not believe.
Yeah, makes a huge difference.
And that means that and if you're on YouTube, go leave me a comment. Leave me a comment. Go and like it down the bottom and leave me a comment because it pumps it up the algorithm. So that means more people get to see it. And certainly over the next 12 months, there's going to be a lot more information going out there. So you don't want to miss any episodes, whatever platform.
A lot more videos and bits and pieces.
Yeah.
Me fencing and things like that. That's a bit comical.
We'll have to put language warnings on it again because you can hear him literally going, fuck, shit, from up the hill as he's hammering in star pickets. But so if there's anything that you want us to cover in our Ditch the Store the next 12 months to 2 years, if there's something specific you want me to cover, let me know because chances are I've tried it. And there are some things that I won't go into, like I won't do books on or really get into because I've tried them and they haven't worked. And if it doesn't work, I don't necessarily go back to it again. But if there's a particular topic that you want me to cover as far as breaking away from the supermarkets, let us know. Because if we've already tried it, but it might be something we do ourselves that we don't think anybody else would be interested in. If you let us know you're interested, we will cover it. I think that's it.
Cool.
So welcome to Ditch the Store. So glad to have you here.
Yep.
What were you going to say?
No, I can't remember now. My brain just switched off for a second.
We've got to go and get kids and go to the gym and do some other things. And yeah, keep in touch. Let us know what you think. Hopefully you'll love it. If you don't love it, don't tell me because I'll be sad.
It's the store. Go and get into it.
Yep. Bye for now, everyone. See you next week.
See you. Bye.
Well, that's it for today's episode of Ditch the Store. If you're loving the journey to self-sufficiency, be sure to subscribe. You can also leave a review for us or share this episode with a friend who's ready to break up with their supermarket. If you've got questions or success stories, we'd love to hear about them on the socials. You can also find me at www.mojohomestead.net. Until next time, keep raising, growing and making. And remember, life's too short for store-bought eggs.